بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, today's talk regarding the lives of the Sahaba and the lessons that we can learn from their lives. We'll continue where we left off from the chronological order that we are covering the lives of the Sahaba or their role in the Da'wah of Islam. So we are going, in a sense, covering kind of the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam along with it, but we are seeing the roles of the Sahaba. Different Sahaba had different kinds of strength, and that was utilized by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the most the beneficial manner that we can see. And last week we talked about the da'wah that started going, Rasulullah started carrying to the other tribes besides the Quraysh and the Meccans, and Rasulullah started calling the other tribes as well towards Islam. As the people of Quraysh specifically and generally the Meccans, they were not responding back to the call of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as Muhammad was expecting from them. And we kind of talked about that as well, that what does it mean by what expectations Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. As we can see that when he was calling the other tribes, he was clear about asking the other tribes to not only accept Islam, but also Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asking for the nusrah from them. Nusrah means he was asking their support for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's protection and implementation of the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal. And this is what we see throughout the da'wah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that that was the main mission that Rasulullah was sent with. We talked about few tribes last week. Specifically, we go a little bit of a detail about the tribe of the Ta'if that Rasulullah went to, which is the Banu Thaqif. And also we talked about Banu Amr ibn Sasa. And both the tribe, when it comes to Banu Thaqif or Ta'if, their response was very harsh towards Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We talked about that. And Banu Amr ibn Sasa, there was a very important thing to learn from that, that they did not reject Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam outrightly. Rather, they said they will become Muslim and they will give the power, authority to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, but with this expectation that after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, this da'wah or this ruling will belong to the family of Banu Amr ibn Sasa. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the response to them was very clear that this matter belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal. Al-amru ilallahi yada'uhu haythu yasha. That this matter belongs to Allah Azza wa Jal and He gives to whoever He wishes. This is up to Allah Azza wa Jal. So we cannot, even Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not have this authority, meaning he did not make any kind of compromises here. He did not try to do cut corners, especially when we're talking about the time when Rasulullah and the Sahaba were going through very difficult time. And even then, we see that he was not making any kind of a compromise. And today, inshallah, we will talk about, because of the time has been shortened for us, that we have to evacuate this building by 9 o'clock, the Masjid. So I will only talk about one of another tribes that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam carried the message to, and the role of the Sahaba in carrying this message to the tribe which is called Banu Shayban. And before I go into that, there is one important thing that we need to know about Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, because Ali and Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhuma were the ones who went along with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to this tribe which is called Banu Shayban. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, from the days of Jahiliyyah, we know that he was one of those people among the Sahaba who never worshipped idols. Before even Muhammad was appointed as a prophet, he still never worshipped idols. But he was also one of the eminent scholars, if you want to call them, of genealogy, or which is called the Ansab. Ansab means that he was very well aware of the genealogies of the tribes, and it plays a very important role. As a matter of fact, when we talk about tribal society, the way Rasulullah, the time Rasulullah was sent as a prophet, We know that the Arabian Peninsula was a tribal society, and if you are aware of weaknesses and the strengths of the tribe, it is a very important knowledge you can have. And they understood the well as well. They used to have people who were they were scholars of genealogy in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But in the Jahiliyyah, people used to use this knowledge of genealogy, knowing the strengths and the weaknesses of the tribes and the specific people within the tribe. They used to use for even the weaknesses they find, and they start talking bad things about those specific tribes or tribal leaders and stuff like that. But Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anh, even though he was one of the best scholars at that time, he never used, even in the Jahiliyyah, he never used it for for shaming the people because of the genealogy or the ansab. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam at one point in another hadith reported by Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that Inna Abu Bakr, Rasulullah said about Abu Bakr, Inna Abu Bakr a'lamu Qurayshin bi ansabiha, that indeed Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu is the most knowledgeable person when it comes to the lineages of about the Quraysh. And not only about the Quraysh, but also about the other tribes as well. And also Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he conveyed this information to other Sahaba as well later on. So he was a scholar in the Jahiliyyah about genealogy and stuff, and in the Islam as well. Now, why am I talking about this specific trait of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu? Because when we talk about these tribes that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was visiting, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to take Abu Bakr with him. Because Abu Bakr not only was one of the first people who entered into full Islam, one of the most trustworthy people to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but also because of this kind of knowledge Abu Bakr had. And it is important to understand that to utilize the right knowledge for right purpose is a very important aspect. And this is not only for the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is always throughout. We will see. We have mashallah, many people even in this room who are listening to this talk, and every one of us have different kind of skill sets that we have. And the very same skill sets can be utilized for the purpose of for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for the purpose of Islam as well. And we have to realize that how we can contribute. Not every one of us is going to be a scholar, we understand that. Not everyone is going to be a scientist. Not everybody is going to be a doctor. Not everybody is going to be an engineer. Not everybody is going to be the one who will be a janitor. All those things are skills that different people do it, and they contribute and strengthen a nation. Hence, we have to make sure that we have right resources at hand as an ummah as well. And we see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was going to the different tribes, and today, inshallah, we'll talk about Banu Shayban, because Banu Shayban was one of the strongest tribes that was there. As the hadith talks about that Ali radiallahu anhu, he said Abu Bakr, Rasulullah went out with Abu Bakr and Ali radiallahu anhu to meet different tribes. And Ali's statement of Abu Bakr was, he preceded us in every good thing. And this is one of the traits of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, that he was ahead in everything from all the Sahaba. And it's not as if Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu was trying to compete with anybody. This is the way Abu Bakr was. When he entered into the fold of Islam, he gave 100% of his time and everything for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Not like we find ourselves many a time that we talk about Islam one day, another day we are relaxing and we're busy with something else. We find that Islam is the thing that his whole life was around. And we see when Abu Bakr Siddiq went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so he started talking to those people, and he asked, "From which tribe you are from?" And they said they're from Banu Shayban bin Tha'laba. And Abu Bakr turned to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now he knows about the Banu Shayban bin Tha'laba. So he said to Rasulullah, "I sacrificed my mother and father for you. These are the best of their people, and among them is Masruq bin Amr." He was talking about the people he was addressing. Who are the people that he was addressing? There were 4 people, as the report says. One was Mafruq bin Amr, other one was Hani bin Qabisa, third one was Mathna bin Haritha, and Mathna bin Haritha and Nu'man bin Sharif. These are the four people he was dealing with. Actually, it's Muthanna bin Haritha. Apologize. So Muthanna, who actually later on he became Muslim. So he was from Banu Shayban as well. And it's important to remember that he's from Banu Shayban because he played a very important role against the very same people we will see in the story that they were scared of. So now, when then he started talking to them, and he said, "Are you Banu Shayban people?" To ask him, Mafruq bin Amr. He said, "Are you the brother of Quraysh?" Abu Bakr said, he said yes, and he said, "Did you hear that he is the Prophet, referring to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he so and so?" And Mafruq, Abu Bakr's response was yes. And then he asked, Abu Bakr started asking about the strength of that tribe. And the very important, the questions he was asking were in a very smart way. He asked that, how strong are you? And Mafruq's response was, we are never as angry as we are when we meet in the battlefield. And we never fight as fiercely as when we get angry. So he's trying to tell the strength of Banu Shayban. And he said, we prefer our horses over our children. And we prefer our weapons over getting married or sleeping with our wives. This is how strong they were. And he understood the questions that Abu Bakr was asking as well. And then he said, as for victory, it comes from Allah. He grants it to whoever he wishes. And Rasulullah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants it to against his opponent. And perhaps you are the brother of Quraysh. He was thinking, okay, he's here for talking about providing some strength to us. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abu Bakr said, if it has reached to you that he is indeed the messenger of Allah, because they were questioning now about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then here he is, and Mafruq said, oh brother of Quraysh, what do you invite us? So he's asking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what is your invitation about? So he said, أدعوكم إلى شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأني عبد الله ورسوله. He said, I am calling you towards worshiping nobody, no entity except Allah Azza wa Jal. So there's nobody worthy of worship except Allah Azza wa Jal, and there is no partners to him. And I am indeed the Abd of Allah and his messenger. Abd of Allah, slave of Allah and his messenger. وإلى أن تهوني وتنصروني فإن قريش قد تظاهرت على الله وكذبت ورسوله واستقت بالباطل عن الحق. He said, Rasulullah started talking to him about what he's expecting from them. I want you to shelter me. I want you to support me. وتنصروني. وإن قريش, because the Quraysh, they have rejected me. They condemned me. Hence, and they have preferred batil over haqq, falsehood over truth. Wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid, and Allah Azza wa Jal is all sufficient, all rich, and he's all praiseworthy. Now, when Mafruq, he heard this, he said, وَأَلَمْ تَعْدُ عَيْدًا يَا أَخَ قُرَيْشٍ فَوَاللَّهِ مَا سَمِعْتُ كَلَامًا أَحْسَنَ مِنْ هَذَا. He said, what else do you call for, oh brother from Quraysh? I have never heard anything better than the kalam that you are giving it to me. What you have told me so far, I have never heard anything better than that. Then he asked, what else do you have? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam recited one of the verses from Surah Al-An'am. And he said, قُلْ تَعَالُوا وَأَتُوا مَا حَرَّمَ رَبُّكُمْ عَلَيْكُمْ أَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ مِنْ إِمْلَاقٍ نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُكُمْ وَإِيَّاهُمْ وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الْفَوَاحِشَ مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَمَا بَطَنَ وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا النَّفْسَ الَّتِي حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. Subhanallah. In just one verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put together so many things that was sufficient for the people of Banu Shayban to see the truth. He said, Rasulullah said, tell them, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, come, I will recite what your Lord has prohibited you from. Join anything in worship with Allah Azza wa Jal. Be good and dutiful to your parents. Kill not your children because of poverty or hunger. And then goes, we provide sustenance for you and for them, and come not near al-fawahish. fawahish, of course, a shameful sense, illegal or illicit sexual intercourse and these kind of things, whether committed openly or secretly, and kill not anyone unjustly except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has allowed. And when Mafruq heard this, he said, by Allah, you have invited to the noblest of manners, best deeds. Those people have disbelieved in you, have united against you, have lied and are false, referring to the Quraysh. Because Quraysh were the one who rejected Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now Mafruq is testifying that whatever the Quraysh has done, definitely they are on the wrong path. But now Mafruq, then he came back to the matter. He said, look, I want you to talk to Hani ibn Qabis, the other person who was with him. And this is Hani, he said, our sheikh, our leader. And the one among us who is responsible for our deen. So they had somebody who's taking care of the affairs of the deen, somebody who's taking care of the army and the military. So now they refer to Hani ibn Qabis. Now Hani ibn Qabis said, I heard whatever you said, O brother of Quraysh, yet I indeed. So his response was, I understand what you said is good, there's no doubt. But I don't want to be the one who's hasty and who just makes the decision right away. I like to think what you are offering us to. And hence, I will also want you to talk to Al-Muthanna bin al-Harith. He is the leader of our army affairs, okay? And he is our sheikh. Sheikh is a term, nowadays, people just hear somebody come and sit on this member or something or chair and start calling him a sheikh. He may be a 20-year-old, he's a sheikh, or 18-year-old is a sheikh, or somebody who has a degree, he's a sheikh. Sheikh is a term that's used for, yes, it's used for leader. It is used for, can be used for scholars also. But it's also used for leaders and older people as well. So he referred to the sheikh from the perspective of the leadership. Okay? Now, so Muthanna, radiallahu anh, because he became Muslim later on, he rejected here as well. Now, Muthanna was aware of that. So Muthanna, who later became Muslim, he said, I indeed heard your speech, O brother of Quraysh. They refer to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as the brother of Quraysh. My answer concerning what you said is us leaving, because what you're asking is leave our religion and follow yours. Is the same answer that Hani gave, which is they like to think about it. They understand what you're offering is good, but they like to think. We choose as our home territory that lies between two Sayyaran. Two Sayyaran, he said, which is Al-Yamama and Al-Samawa. Rasulullah asked, what is Al-Sayyaran? And the response was, these were the rivers between the Kisra and between the Arabs. And they were stuck between them, basically. Now, because on one side, they have Persians. Let's not forget who the Persians were. Persians were one of the superpowers of that time. Okay, so there were two superpowers, Romans and Persians. And we see that they used to fight with each other. And subhanAllah, a time came not too far away from the time Rasulullah was talking to them. Muslims were engaged in fighting both the superpowers at the same time. And they were defeating both of them. And Muslims were very few in numbers. It's not the numbers that brought the victory for the Muslims. It is never the numbers. Nasr comes from Allah Azza wa Jal. The victory comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This has to be understood. It has to be deeply ingrained in our minds. If we continue to think that the victory comes from anything but Allah Azza wa Jal, we will be disgraced. As Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anh, in one of the statements, he said that we were a disgraced nation. Then Islam is the one that honored us. And he said, if we look for honor anywhere except from Islam, we will be disgraced by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.